different evolutionary humans or subhuman, etc. The problem with that is, and it's very known, and this is a shame, it's the bigger shame on these people who are doing this, they already know, although they don't publish this out for the general public, that these creatures, with the exception of human beings, all lived at the same time. I take applause there because I want that to hit home really hard. The Cro-Magnon man actually lived in what's called the Cro-Magnon period because he was more dominant than some of the other species. Neanderthal man was very dominant at his particular period. But he was living right alongside the other one. They couldn't have evolved one to the other because they were existing at the same time. And they know it from their own studies in anthropology. It's very clear. They can carbon date, DNA, and they have so many tests that they can do today and prove to you without any shadow of a doubt, they can pinpoint the times when these characters lived. Now here's something interesting. When the human being as we know him today came, all of those were gone. Listen again. When human being as we know him today came, all of the others were gone. And the difference between all of the others and the human being we know today is what? More than anything else, the head. The head is different. Very different. There was no forerunner to the human, Homo sapiens, as we know him. And the head is different from those others. What is interesting about this, and I'm not going to do it, that's my turn to do a little preaching. We listen to them preach. I'll preach. Inshallah. Allah said it very clear. He talked about this, that He destroyed others before us. Clearly brought them and wiped them out. And then when it speaks about Adam, Adam was brought forth from the dirt, not from any other evolutionary process. This is a condition of belief in Islam. You cannot accept evolution and Islam at the same time. I'm sorry to tell you that. I'm talking about evolution of humans now. Look what happens. In Islam it tells us the last thing that Allah put on Adam was the what? His head. And it didn't happen right away. It was a long time without his head because it says that the shaitan went down inside of Adam, all around him, and came out the other end. Went down in the hole where the head would be. There was no head there. How many of you know that? You already know that. Did you? Really? That's pretty well known. Most scholars talk about this when they talk about evolution. They talk about when they talk about the construction of Adam, that is. Now, that's interesting because of what I just mentioned about the anthropologists knowing that the head is so different. Isn't that amazing? And there's been no change in the head of the human being. In fact, that's how they make the distinction immediately. As soon as they see the head, they can say, that's human. That is human as we know him today. No change. 10,000 years ago, 20,000 years ago, 50,000 years ago, the oldest one they have still is no different than what we have today. Whoops. No evolution. Not in that sense. However, there is such a thing as evolution to a point. There are things that start one way and then Allah changes them and makes them into something a little different. But He doesn't change a species to another species. That never happened. Grass never became a donkey. Okay? Giraffes didn't turn into clouds. Trees didn't turn into monkeys. Okay? That doesn't work that way. That's a different thing turning into a different thing. But evolution, where you have a type of grass, for instance, that whenever there's a different kind of atmosphere, then that grass could become longer or shorter, wider or thinner. But that's not really evolution in the sense that one species to another. It's evolution within its own conditions, which is considered very normal, by the way. And Allah provided for that very clearly in the Quran when He told us that He is Al-Khaliq, which is the what? Creator. And He's Al-Bari, which is the what? evolver. If there's evolution, he already told you he's the evolver. So we're the only religion accepting evolution on the real status of what evolution is all about.